matches. Now to a multi-billion-dollar industry which allows foreign workers to send money back home to their families and friends. The global remittance industry has been dominated by two big companies for decades, but now it is increasingly facing competition from new digital players offering cheaper fees. Let's take a look. In 2016, global remittances are expected to reach $610 billion. Around 200 million foreign workers regularly send money to relatives back home. The top three destinations for remittances are India, China, and the Philippines. On average, people spend 8% of their transaction on fees. The industry is dominated by two big firms, Western Union and MoneyGram. Digital players claim they can do it cheaper, but some can't get licenses to operate in Asia. And many people say it's not convenient or they don't have access to the internet to try out these new ways of sending money home. So what do the startups trying to cut in on this market make of those criticisms? Ashley Neem talked to the chief executive of Innovate Finance, an industry body which supports financial technology innovators and entrepreneurs.
I think people locally have to use the products or services that best suit them, and that's what competition is about. But I think as we see the internet grow in Asia, mobile phones and people coming online with mobile phones, that consumers will be offered a choice about whether they still want to use those traditional services or some of the more competitive services suit them.
What do you think the startups can do differently?
They don't have the bricks, the mortar, or the staff, or the overhead, just like we've seen in e-commerce and digital. So they can more cost-effectively get people's funds to their families or to the people that they want to on the other end, and avoid a lot of the cost that the traditional money transfer firms have.
What are some of the legal barriers that the startups are facing?
Regulation in many Asian countries prohibits digital startups from entering the market by either requiring them to have premises, staff, a license, and that starts to erode the cost advantage of the plays. However, most of those countries are now looking at ways to simplify the regulation, and Japan is the example of a country in 2010 that opened up to foreign remittance plays. So the digital companies and members like our TransferWise are really focused on launching in those territories.
Financial regulators would say that these checks and balances are needed to prevent criminal activity like money laundering.
Well, one of the biggest drives for digital plays is to avoid money laundering. It's difficult to understand where the source of cash has come from when cash payments are made globally. Digital remittance relies on people having a bank account or a mobile phone and delivers some provenance in that you understand the identity of the person that's transferring the money. And that's actually at the top of the regulatory agenda.
How soon do you think it will be before we see a change in the regulatory landscape?
I think it'll take, another cycle of progressive regulation for some of those barriers to lower, particularly in countries like China and India. So we'd hope to see that over the next decade, quite a bit of progress is made in that.
Lawrence Wintermeyer there speaking to Ashley Neem.